Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Zia Wool Studio Buzz episode 24. I am Doug, and this is a podcast about knitting, spinning, and all kinds of makings that involve yarn, fiber, and that kind of stuff. I am coming to you from Albuquerque in the beautiful desert of New Mexico, and this is where I have my little business called Zia Wools of hand-dyed yarns and spinning fibers, and yes, all kind of inspired by the beauty of the Southwest. Okay, where to start? Well, I'm outside even though something happened 2 weeks ago. When I last recorded, after I was done, I walked around in the garden, I checked if I have to water my tomatoes and whatnot, and all of a sudden I found a rattlesnake. We called animal control, but they were not able to catch it. We saw him the whole time, but as soon as the guy approached the snake, he went off super fast under some brush, and we think that he has a hiding spot there because we kind of poked around, but he wouldn't come out anymore. So as you can imagine, since then our backyard belongs to this rattler. He is also, he's not little. I would say about 3 to 4 feet long, and so you're gonna laugh because since then I am wearing cowboy boots whenever I go outside. Like right now. And yes, just in case. Even though these snakes, they have more, they're as scared of us as we're scared of them. So with me talking here, he's not gonna come over here, but still it makes me feel better because I can't look at my feet all the time when I'm talking to the camera. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. Yes. And on what else do I need to mention? Well, I'm just getting more and more excited about the Isabel Kraemer retreat that's coming up at the end of September. It's about 2 more weeks, so it's so fun. And I'm gonna be doing a little pop-up shop there. So I've been dyeing a lot, and my knitting has happened mainly in the evenings, but that's fine. That's just how it goes. So what have I been working on that I want to show you? I have 2 finished objects that I know you're going to be excited about, just like I was excited about them. I have finished my 3rd Lemmy K, which is a pattern by Isabel Kraemer, as you may remember, and this is it. I hope you can see because I cannot. I made this on 4.5 millimeter needles in one of my yarns in the custom colorway Mein Mädchen, because it's going to be a gift for a friend, and I just miss her. She moved away from Albuquerque, and red is her favorite color. Mein Mädchen means my girl. That's German, as you may have guessed. I really like the yarn, but you have to know, it's so hard to dye this without getting a tangled mess as solid yarns in one batch. So I really rarely do it. For this one, I dyed 4 skeins of yarn, and it was okay. And I love this yarn, which is a Mesa. It's called Mesa. It's a blend of silk, merino, and alpaca. and it is very big. Yep, 4.5 millimeter needles. I used 4 skeins of the yarn, and it has about a 270 yards per skein. As I've done before, and I've talked about that quite a bit, I've made it larger than the pattern requires, so I've added more stitches before I started the pattern section, which just gives me a little bit of extra size, and that way I could use up my yarn to the very end. So I just knitted whatever I had left into the edge. Yep. I'm thinking I'm probably going to keep it until the show, the retreat, and then I'm going to send it off to my friend. I don't think she watches the podcast, so that's why I'm talking about it, and I can actually show it to you. So as you can imagine, I'm super happy with this. Another finished item is my beeswax hat. I told you last time that I wanted to make this in the colorway Bee Buzz in my Chama base, which is an 8-ply cabled yarn in a sport weight, and I finished the hat, and I cannot even begin to tell you how much I enjoyed working on this. It was one of those things where you work on it and everything is right. The pattern, the yarn, it's written very nicely, and I did not make a swatch because it's a hat. Goodness gracious, right? There is one thing that I would do differently if I made it again. There's a hummingbird up there. That's why I'm looking up there. If I'm gonna do it again, if I'm gonna make this again, I would go down a needle size for the ribbing down here. I feel that would kind of stabilize it, just be a little bit better. And I don't think it looks very good on me. That type of hat, I don't like that so much on me, but I'll put it on for you, only for you. I look weird, right? Whatever. It's a beautiful hat. I will make someone happy with it. That's the beeswax hat. By the way, I have knitted this with 4 millimeter needles on DPNs. Sometimes I knit hats on small circulars, but I don't know, for this one I thought that would be a little bit easier for me. What else? I have also worked on my socks that you have seen before, which live in this beautiful bag, which was gifted to me a good while ago by my friend Debbie when we first met. Debbie of the Periscoping Sisters. We did a swap, of a mini skein swap, and that's where she sent me this lovely bag. And if you see this on the outside, I keep my DPNs together, bundled up with this homemade thingamajig in nice, it's It's a sheep-shaped vessel. So, and I am on the second sock. I started the second one, and because the first one, as you may guess, first one's done. This is my base that's called Sandia for our mountain back here behind me. And I have no idea how I dyed this. It's a one of a kind, which I usually call wild dogs. I think I had an incomplete skein and just played and didn't want to write down anything, and I really like it. Looks a bit Halloweenish, doesn't it? So that's where I am. The second one is just past the ribbing, but it's a shorty sock, so I'm gonna get to the heel soon. In the meantime, I also what happened was I was dying in the garage and I had a podcast going on the side. I mean, it's more listening than looking usually when I work. But I think someone was talking about casting on all the projects and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, dang, I want to cast on too. And I have right under my workspace, I have some bins with a stash. So either some fingering skeins that I purchased, but also some of my own for samples. But I went to the purchase bin and I pulled out a skein of yarn that I have that I bought at a wool festival in Germany last year. And so that's when I started. So I grabbed the ball of yarn. It was a skein, and this is how it looks like in a ball. And it was kind of like bold splotches of red and turquoise and brown and white. I mean, white areas. And, but in the skein, it looks so much more, and in the ball of yarn it looks so much more, not speckled, but it makes me wonder how they dyed this. But let me show you the tag. Wool Team DE, and it is hopefully a superwash. Yes, it is. It's an 80-20 wool nylon, 400 meters per 100 yard. Yeah, it's really, and let me show you how it's knits up. Love it so much. It's really fun to work with, and I carry it around. It's my purse project mainly, or sometimes when I need something small in the garage when I have a little break. Oh, here's the card. It was a very affordable skein of yarn. I still remember, and I was wondering, how can they do that? You know, you have to buy the bare yarn, you have to buy your dyes, you use water, of course, quite a bit. You rinse, and when you dye, you need your acid to make it stick. And I just wonder how they could sell it for the price they did. That's what I can't remember what I paid, but it was really very inexpensive. I have never been on their website, so I don't know. Oh, and it is in my little sheet bag here. This was one of my favorite fabrics, sheep fabrics that my friend Doris gifted me, and so I used up every scrap of the fabric, and so I made some in this odd, not very common, some bags not in this odd size. These are my socks, but I brought another sock project that I wanted to show you because I started writing a sock pattern, but that was already more than a year ago. And while I have while I've knitted the first sock, I don't think I'm ever gonna finish writing the pattern. So I don't really know what's going to happen with this because even my yarn may not be enough, whatever I have left here of this first skein. I'll show you. This is what I have left. I haven't weighed it. I should do that. There's a house alarm that went off fairly close by. I hope it's not too annoying for you guys. So I have used a seriously gorgeous stitch pattern, but I am not a pattern sock knitter, and I guess that's why I miss the draw towards writing up that pattern. But I thought I'd show you, and maybe one of you says, hey, I want it. Look at that. So the stitch pattern is from a German book that has gathered old stitch patterns, and if I change my mind and I finish the pattern, I would name this the snake socks or something in that matter, that similar, because the pattern is called the large silver snake. And goodness, so I copied it out of a book. Notes. Well, thank you for turning that off. I don't know. For now it rests, but actually the reason why I found this is that I cleaned out the hallway closet, which was my place where I just stuffed in things that I didn't know where to put, and so that's where I found this, and I thought I'd pull it out and show you. Yeah, but now it's gonna probably go back in the closet, and I still won't know what to do with it. Oh. We shall see, and I will keep you posted. So what's next? Those were all the socks I meant to talk about. I finished my shawl. I have not picked up my Yumi Isabel Kramer sweater yet. That's going to happen soon, but I have worked fairly consistently on my Seagrass shawl by Janina Kallio. Am I butchering her name? Well, the company is called Woolenberry, so Janina Kallio. Okay, I did good. And this is where I am. I'm knitting this out of Zia Wool's my Santa Fe base. It's a 50-50 merino silk in the colorways Nightfall and Boomtown. So anybody who knows this pattern will think, oh, wait a minute, isn't this supposed to end now? Yes, it is. So I believe, if I recall correctly, at this point there would just be a solid colored section, and kind of like how you start the shawl. But look at how much yarn I have left. That's quite a bit. So I decided I'm going to figure out how to make the mesh, another mesh section. And the reason it's not as easy as it sounds is that you have in every right side row, it's a different way how you start the row. And the two mesh sections before, when you first start them, they also both started differently. So what I did is the following. Like, say I have a repeat of, and I'm making up the numbers, I have a repeat of 5 stitches, and it says do something at the beginning of the row, then do that repeat, and at the end of the row you have 2 knit stitches. So what I did right here when I started last night is I actually backtracked in terms of, well, let me explain. So what I did was, end of the row, 2 stitches. I went to the end of the row, and then I counted my 5 stitches, and I didn't do any math, but I really literally counted 5, 5, 5, 5 until I got to the end, and I saw I'm making it up again, 3 stitches left. Then I went to my pattern and I looked, where do I have 3 stitches at the beginning of the mesh row? I found it, I marked it, and that's where I start. So I'm going to repeat here, repeat these rows, then start over and repeat again, as you're supposed to do. Surprise, surprise, I have been spinning. And it's kind of funny because I've been thinking about getting my wheel out for a while now because of Tour de Fleece. So many people posted pictures about their spinning, and I love a German podcast, Elfenwolle, by Tina, and she's a spinner, so she spins so much, so I always, whenever I watch her, I want to start spinning right away. But then I think what really tipped me over the edge was that I watched a podcast of some local friends, Chris and Kathy, who are spinners, and then I met them a few days later, and they asked me, we should really have your spinning top at the yarn store. Don't you have any? So that sent me back to the garage, diving into my spinning top and pulling some out and dyeing some. And then, of course, what do? You dye something that you dye for the first time, which was an 80/20 silk blend, merino silk blend. And so I had to spin it to see how it spins, right? That makes perfect sense, right? So that's what I did. Actually, to be completely correct, the first thing I did was I finished spinning what was on my wheel, and that was a beautiful, gorgeous bat that you have seen before a good while ago. That was gifted to me by a friend, by my friend Sherry. Thank you again so much, Sherry. I've loved every inch of this spin. I am done with this gorgeous skein. She sent me an art bat that she thought the colors reminded her of the Southwest, and I am done with it. It has locks in it, hand-dyed locks, glitz, sari silk bits, and Sherry's business name is Twisted Dye Kitchen. And she has her shop is called Twisted Dye Kitchen if you want to check it out. I do not know if she has anything in her shop right now, but this was such a joy. Oh, here's one of those locks. Look at that. There's the red one. So pretty. Love it. Don't have any plans yet. I was thinking fingerless mitts because I wear those a lot and I have to make something really special out of this. Yep. So, and then here is the yarn that I finished that I was telling you about. This was a braid of 80/20 silk, merino silk, and I have oh, I have a little bit left on another bobbin. So, but this one is 3.7 ounces, 105 grams, 330 yards. And I didn't stop. I started spinning another braid, and this one is and I need to tell you about something that I've noticed. So this is Corriedale, and I don't know where I got this fiber from. It's very, no, it's not Corriedale. Wait a second. It's BFL. And it smelled super sheepy when I soaked it, and it's not as fine as other BFL that I've spun, but I really like it, and I love how the colors turned out on this one. It was just, it was in a bag in my garage, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to dye it for myself. I love how it looks like this, and I love how it looks like spun up. So, and here's that leftover from the other colorway that I told you about. I haven't wound that up. The other skein I already washed. So, and this is the BFL, and if you, I'm not sure how good you can see this, but it's very fine. And something I noticed, and that's kind of like, well, it's not embarrassing, it's just the way it is. So what I noticed when I was spinning the BFL is that I'm not even sure how that happened, but I was wearing my reading glasses as I sat down on the spinning wheel and started spinning, and I thought, yes, good, gotta make sure that I'm consistent with this, how thin I spun it. And only after a few minutes it hit me that I am seeing the yarn that I'm spinning a lot better. So I felt like if I wear reading glasses, I'm going to be able to be much more consistent in how thin I spin my yarn. So for now, I'm suspecting that this is also going to be thinner than this skein, because I feel like I got thicker on this one here in between. And I'm not talking thick thin, but more like larger stretches of the yarn. I'll see. I'll count the yardage. I'll see what the yardage is on that one and the weight, and then I'll figure it out. So that was my spinning, and of course I had some ideas because this has orange in it and it has a lot of yellow also. And then I remembered that I had this bright orange hand spun. It was a 50-50 merino silk blend, just gorgeous. And I thought, I'm going to use that together with this in a shawl, because I've made another shawl where I used the 50-56 silk merino for, I had some in this area, and it made for such a beautiful shawl that I love to wear. I know I've shown it to you in the past. So that was my idea, and I pulled out a pattern that I have purchased a while ago, the Happy End. And I thought, well, I have the solid orange, and then I can just fit in whatever and which way ever I want down here. I feel like you cannot really see this, how it looks like, but also I just started knitting last night and it wasn't doing it for me. I don't really know why. Maybe the needles are too big. I don't know. You know me. You remember, I don't like it too loosey-goosey. Maybe I just needed that little kick of the cast on last night. And then I went back to my seagrass. But this is where I am right now. I made one change because I noticed this would probably have a fairly tight edge. So everybody can see there's a yarn over here that's worked on one side. So on the back side, I added a yarn over just after the first and before the last stitch, which I drop on the right side of the shawl. And so hopefully I'm pretty sure this should make my shawl looser. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna start over again and use smaller needles. Maybe I will. These are 4 millimeters. I think the original ones she wants you to use are 3.75 millimeters, and I have hardly any in those in between the 0.25 or 0.75 sizes. So I went up because I thought this was a good idea, because her yarn is a fingering and this is definitely a tiny bit heavier. So that's that. Stay tuned. Don't know if I'm going to continue or not. Maybe I am. I don't know. Not sure. And what else? I brought you something that has to go. I am not in love with this, and it's not the fault of the pattern or the fault of the yarn. It lives in one of my cowgirl bags. And since I have not touched this in months, in fact, I cast this on in August of 2017, so I made myself a little tag so I know what's in here. Probably because I opened the bag 100 times to see. Oh, what was in here? Oh yeah, that's right. It's Mojito Food Day. I think it's a beautiful garment. I just think it's not my style, and I don't think I would get a lot of wear out of it. Even though the color is just very much me. It is a colorway by Lorna's Laces. I mean, some yarn by Lorna's Laces. Oh, I love this. Yes. The base is called Soulmate 55% superwash merino, 15 nylon, and 30 viscose. It's a fingering weight yarn, about 425 yards for 100 grams. And I thought it was going to be nice and drapey, which of course it will be for anything you make with it. But let me show you how far along I have gotten. Can you see? Not far. And I personally like lace. It doesn't bother me, but so that's not what I disliked about it. And I have, yes, so in fact, I even have an idea of something that I may make out of this gorgeous yarn, because it deserves a beautiful project. And lacy would be good because of the viscose content. That would give it some nice drape. The colorway is called Yorkshire Skies, and it also says December 2015. I don't know if that's when it was dyed, but I bought the yarn in Reno on a trip, and I really do want to make something special out of it. So it's kind of so it's going to be nice vacation memories. So I will frog this and repurpose it. No problem, right? I brought one more thing that I meant to show you, and that is in regards to my shop. It is, I have a bunch of yarns in the shop, but I have also added a few of the new rovings or spinning tops, I should say, that I have added. And thank you to those of you who've already popped in and stopped by the shop, or if you have made a purchase. And I have 3 more braids that will be added to the shop shortly. My braids are not colorways. Spinning fiber is where I play. I am very bad at this. So that's this. And these are all superwash, 100% superwash merino. And I think there is still one more braid of the 80/20 merino silk in there, and some in the shop, I mean, and some of the 8515 superwash merino nylon, which I have used for my hand knitted socks, which I love so much. I'm going to show you these when I start wearing them again, because I really find it very interesting to see how do they behave with time. I don't find it gross to show you. I mean, I'm not gonna, you don't need to smell my socks, and you don't know if they're clean or if I put them on this morning. So I will show you those socks that I made from hand spun yarn. Because I really I was always worried about hand spun, about using hand spun for socks, because I thought I would hate for all the work to be going into a sock, and then for the sock to be wearing through soon after the socks are done. So but so far I've worn them a lot, probably the most in the last winter season, the most of all my hand knitted socks, and they're fine, and they wash. I do throw them in the regular wash in our front loader, but of course only a low temperature setting. I mean, not cold, but just warm setting. Yes, and this is it. I have one thing that I did want to mention is that actually two things. There is still the Isabel Kraemer knit along going on in the The Owls group on Ravelry. And if you have a project going, doesn't matter if you're in a bit already, enter it in the group. Put your finished object in the finished object thread and chatter along. Show your yarn. Tell us what you're making. I would love for you to stop by. And I will eventually, I'm thinking at the beginning of October, I will have a giveaway for a skein of yarn for all the people that are in the chatter thread. And I will also have a giveaway then, of course, at the end of October, when the knit along ends on October 31st. So the podcast after that, I will draw for a winner for that, and I kind of have some great ideas. One skein of yarn I've already set aside, and the other one I'm not decided on, but I have a kind of like a fun idea. So, and that was one thing that I wanted to mention. And the other one is that I had a little while ago, someone asked me to show my blankets on the podcast. And because the podcasts have been, due to the vacations and everything that's been happening, or like when the time was a little bit longer, I have not yet pulled them out really. And I don't forget, I haven't forgotten. I will show my 3 blankets in the works in a podcast soon. Okay, so this brings me to the end, and it's been fun chatting with you again, as always. I am looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you all for leaving me a comment and for saying hi if it's on Ravelry or on YouTube. And I'm looking forward to the next time I will record for you. And until then, I hope you are well and happy knitting. Bye.